Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Jackson Show. I'm your host, Jackson Solomon, and today going to be a recap of Conference Championship Week. Obviously, we have the AFC and NFC Championship games, both very interesting games. But before we get into it, before I give you my thoughts, my takes, my breakdowns, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It means so much to me. And yeah, let's just jump straight into it. So, championship weekend consisted of the four best teams in the National Football League. Two from the AFC, two from the NFC. They would battle it out in the conference championship game for the right to play in Super Bowl number 60, which is in 2 weeks in Santa Clara. The first conference championship game that will be going on is the AFC championship game between the Patriots and the Broncos. The game would be played in Denver, as Denver would be the 1 seed hosting the number 2 seed New England Patriots. The scoring got off to a hot start with a Denver touchdown pass from their quarterback, Jarrett Stidham. Then, entering into the second quarter, Drake May would run in a 6-yard rushing touchdown for New England to tie the score up 7-7. Then, halfway through the third quarter, the Patriots would kick a field goal thanks to Andy Borregales from 23 yards away to make the score 10-7. And that would be the final score as the Patriots would win the AFC Conference 10 to the Denver Broncos 7. A big storyline heading into this game was Stidham. How would he perform? How would he play? How would he look? He didn't play bad, in my opinion. I think the one fumble kind of killed him. Obviously, at the interception at the end of the game, but 17 for 31, 133 yards. He had a touchdown pass, had an interception. Rating was okay, But I guess you could say Stidham is kind of the reason why this Denver offense didn't move it like they would. Because I feel like Bo Nix, if he played, the stats would have been better. This team would have looked better. They would have been it would have looked better, in my opinion. And it didn't look that good. At all. To me, like I said, if Bo Nix probably plays, the game is probably overall it's a better game. And Denver probably beats New England by at least 2 possessions if Bo Nix is playing in this game. Stidham didn't play bad. He played okay. And because I think Denver wasn't able to run it effectively, they weren't moving the ball down the field. They weren't converting on those key, crucial third downs. And it kind of forced them into uncomfortable positions where they were punting a lot. 4 for 14 on third down, right? Still, New England went 6 for 18 on third down. But they took advantage of their opportunities, like the turnovers that they got. They got a fumble. Recovery from Stidham. They sacked him 3 times, right? And their defense played good, right? So, Drake May, believe it or not, okay, because, New England ran it for 140 yards, right? Drake May completed only 10 passes in this game. That's the shocking part to me. He only completed 10 passes. That's all he needed. That's all he needed was 10 completions. 5 of them went to Stephon Diggs, and he didn't even have 20 yards. He didn't throw for 100 yards. He had no touchdowns. He got sacked 5 times, yet they were able to run the ball. They had the more effective offense in the game. And in my opinion, it's kind of when I was approaching, when we were looking at this game, right, it was the 2 best defenses in the NFL. I think that's fair. I think that's kind of what we expected, right? Top 3 defenses, right? New England, right? Because this is what I expected, right? with the Patriots, I honestly thought their offense heading into this game would be better than, say, Denver's offense, because Denver lost their starting quarterback. I did think New England's offense was going to be better, but I didn't think that Denver's defense would make New England's offense look as bad as they did. Which, I mean, you look at this 10 for 21, that's just, it's not winning football games. So, I mean, if Bo Nix plays, this is a Denver win. It's a Denver win. There's no denying it. It wasn't a great game from Drake May. I know a lot of people love Drake May, but this wasn't his best game. The offensive line didn't look good. The defense played incredible, in my opinion. And it there's not much to say about this game because it was just such a slugfest between two teams. Couldn't really move it on offense. Had a good defenses. And if you're a defensive guy, you love it. You're an offensive guy, you don't love it as much. But it's a disappointing end for the Broncos season. I will say there's a lot of controversy going around that, the Broncos probably should have kicked a field goal. And it probably would have, it would tie this game up. But I'm just going to say this, yeah, you could have kicked a field goal, but there are multiple factors into a decision like that. There's the factor of, hey, our defense has looked so good. And at that point in the game, New England couldn't even pick up a first down. They were generating pressure just so easily that it's like Drake May can't even stand up in the pocket. So when you get to a point where it's fourth down, we want the touchdown, yeah, it makes sense that we're going to go for it and try and get a touchdown. It made sense. So you can't blame them for that. I do think that if you kick the field goal, it helps out a lot. It helps your team out a lot. So, but New England, their offense was just playing at such a bad rate that it was hard to think and imagine that they could move it. If they kick the field goal, this is a completely different game. Some more fourth down gambles are taken. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. But went for it. Stidham didn't make a good decision, and it cost them the game. New England was the first team to clinch their spot in the Super Bowl. Then there was the NFC Championship game between two division rivals in the Rams and the Seahawks. Seattle was looking to go to its first Super Bowl since 2015, a Super Bowl they lost to the team that had already clinched the Super Bowl themselves, the New England Patriots. The Rams were looking to go to the Super Bowl for the first time since they won it all in 2021, led by Aaron Donald and a dominating defense. So the scoring started off with a Kenneth Walker rushing touchdown. Each side would hit a field goal after that, making the score 10-3. The Rams would hit another field goal in the second quarter, at the beginning of the second quarter, and then they would drive down the field in 7 minutes to score a touchdown near the end of the half to make the score 13-10. Sam Darnold hits Jackson Smith-Njigba on a beautiful deep ball. Excuse me. For 42 yards, moving the Seahawks near the red zone. A couple of plays later, Sam Darnold would connect with Jackson Smith-Njigba for a 14-yard touchdown, giving Seattle the lead right back 17-3. Then the Seahawks would score a touchdown off of a muffed punt by the Rams. Sam Darnold hit Jake Bobo down the middle for 17 yards, making the score 24-13. Then the Rams hit a couple of big plays on the next series that led to a Devontae Smith 2-yard receiving touchdown. And then the Seahawks would answer with a touchdown themselves from Sam Darnold to Cooper Kupp. Rams wouldn't go down without a fight, though. They'd get another 34-yard touchdown to Puka Nacua. They'd pick up, they'd go for 2. No, I don't actually think they went for 2. They did not. He knocked in the extra point. I don't know why it's saying he missed it, but he did make the extra point. And then the fourth quarter was quiet. Great special teams from Seattle put the Rams in an uncomfortable spot, and that would be the game. Seattle would be the second team to clinch their spot in the NFC Championship game, in the Super Bowl, 31-27, winning the NFC conference. Okay, so Shady McCoy came out and he said this about the game that Sam Darnold had. He said, I'm still not buying. I'm paraphrasing here, but basically he said, I'm not buying Sam Darnold and what he did. It was an impressive performance, but overall, the Rams defense kind of blew it. And I agree to an extent. I don't like the fact that every time Sam Darnold has a good game, we're kind of on the opposite end of him. He threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. And it just kind of seemed like to me that the Rams, they could have done a little bit more on defense to try and prevent Sam Darnold from getting those opportunities, those big plays. Jackson Smith-Njigba, the first receiver with 10 catches, 150 yards in a conference championship game in franchise history, had himself a big game. And it was a glaring issue for the Rams. They never had a good secondary at all, at any point in the season. They never had a good secondary. Right? So that was kind of its own issue. And then another thing was Seattle. They had, how do I say it? Seattle's one of the best defenses in the NFL, in my opinion. They're right up there with Denver. Those are the 2 best defenses in the league. And it Darnold threw the ball 35 times. He completed 25 of his passes, threw for 3 touchdowns. Stafford kind of did an identical thing where he completed over 20 passes, threw 35 times, and had 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards in the game. So it's like, if we say Stafford had a good game, why can't we say Darnold had a good game? I think, yes, Darnold had a great game. He performed much better than last week, where it seemed like it was more Darnold than it was a team effort. Last week, come on. You had the opening kickoff return for a touchdown. K9 had 3 touchdowns. I don't even think he threw for a passing touchdown last week because the defense was just so dominant. All I had to do was hand the ball off to K9. This week, much better game, picking the defense apart. And the Rams defense, I feel like at times, they were not good. Conference championship week, I feel like it is the 4 best teams with the 4 best defenses. In Los Angeles, they didn't have it. Because at times they were really good, and at other times they were not. They had it at one moment, they didn't the next, right? One game, I think they looked fantastic for the Niners game when they went to San Francisco. Looked like one of the best units in the league. And then the next week, they play Carolina, and they're giving up 40-yard touchdowns to Ted McMillan and Bryce Young. It made no sense. It was overall disappointing. And for the Rams defense to get exposed like this, come on, you had multiple big plays. 40-yard bomb. That touchdown before the half shouldn't have even happened because JSN was just so open in the zone. It was kind of like, dude, switch to man. Throw a couple blitzes at him. Make him uncomfortable. Do something. Switch it up. The Niners, I think, were way more competitive against the Seahawks this season, even though they both beat Seattle. But I think that year in San Francisco, that year he spent with the Vikings, the year that he just had with Clint Kubiak, proves Sam Darnold can't be the guy. He just proved it. And I think he is that guy for Seattle. Maybe for the next couple seasons, I do like what they do with quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Geno Smith, right? So I'm intrigued to see what happens next in the Seattle era with Sam Darnold. Win or lose that Super Bowl, this was a successful season for him. And I think that a lot of people are not giving Sam Darnold the praise. So Shady, I understand where he's coming from, because it's just like the Rams defense made no adjustments. They kept doing the same thing. No blitz. Just going to rush 4 guys, sit back in a zone, let Cooper Kupp run underneath the zones, JSN run a post right behind the safeties, and then when it's a big play, we're just going to be like, well, the Rams defense didn't play a good job. No, I mean, Stafford and Darnold had the exact same very similar stat lines. Stafford had a good game. Darnold did not. That doesn't make any sense to me. They both had good games. They both performed well. Shout out Sam Darnold. He's going to the Super Bowl. And so Super Bowl Sunday, Seahawks versus Pats. All right. That'll do it. So I want to say thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Shout out all the subscribers, everyone that's subscribed to the podcast. Shout out all the likes I get, all the comments. And we'll be uploading one more time this week with a NFL Awards episode. We're going to do something next week for sure for the Super Bowl, and it's going to be big. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Jackson Show. I'm your host, Jackson Solomon. Today was a great episode. I always enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Jackson Show. And as always, bring a friend.